Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
Let's start off now with Darwin calling in from Staten Island. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Anita. Nice to talk to you.
Oh, absolutely. And are you enjoying the weather there? Has it gotten too cold yet?
Anita, you will not believe this, but yesterday was a record heat wave. People were watching the Christmas tree rise over Rockefeller Center wearing shorts and T-shirts.
It is strange.
I don't know, the crazy weather, but
yeah, it is.
I had all the windows and doors open and back in my summer clothes. But cold weather's on the way. But there is much I want to talk to you about. First, a little congratulations for our last two broadcasts. I know I made some stunning revelations about our presidential candidates, and now CNN and all the news networks are now talking about them. So, but you heard it first with us.
Yes, you are always amazing. I never know I'm going to hear from you.
Well, I want to leave America now and head north of the border to our friendly neighbor in Canada. I have some stuff to report. Canada went through an enormous change on Wednesday and swore in a new prime minister who is my favorite politician in all the world, and his name is Justin Trudeau. Just for your tantalizing information, the women who select the the sexiest man in the world.
Yep.
They have voted Justin Trudeau the sexiest head of state in all the world. Well, of course, if you've seen pictures of head of state, Justin won that by a country mile. And he is the son of Pierre Trudeau, who was the prime minister from 1968 to 1984. And he is married to a beautiful Grace Kelly-type woman named Sophie. He met her in 2003, and they got married in 2005, and they have two sons and an adorable little girl. But Justin is a new day in Canadian politics. First, it's been dominated for years by the staid Conservative Party, and the Liberals were the third party. Well, he is the head of the Liberal Party, and they went from 36 seats to 184 seats, all based, I think, on this charismatic personality. And Justin and Sophie are now being called the JFK and the Jackie Kennedy of Canada. And I know quite a bit about it, and I want to get into some of it. First, I've met him only twice. I met him at a reception in New York, and then a friend of mine who's now dead, who worked in the movie business, had this dinner party. I used to go to Montreal a lot, and at that time Justin was living in Montreal. And I met him at this dinner party. I thought he was the most charismatic politician I'd ever met, and I still believe that. But going into his biography, you almost can't believe it. First, he's a very well-educated man, but so was Pierre Trudeau. He was had all sorts of degrees, but Justin, before he became prime minister, I mean, this sounds really crazy, but he taught bungee jumping, and he was an actor. In fact, he's been offered movie roles. He appeared in The Great War, which was that 2007 mini-series on CBS about Canada's involvement in the war. He has a huge fan base. And then, this is hard to believe, but he was once a bouncer in a bar.
It is. I mean, this is funny in a sense when you think about it, because it sounds like his father lost control of him.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Actually, his father, well, we'll go into him in a minute. I mean, his father was, the swinging bachelor. Maybe we should go into him now. Pierre Trudeau was the swinging bachelor of Montreal, and then Ottawa. And when he became prime minister, and he was 52, and but he was dating, looking for a first lady, and he focused on Barbara Streisand, and they began a torrid affair. And Barbara Streisand said her major complaint was she would have to learn French if she became First Lady of Canada. And then he then had a brief fling, Pierre Trudeau had a brief fling with Jackie Kennedy when she was married to Aristotle Onassis. At that time, Aristotle had gone back to his original love, the opera diva Maria Callas, and I guess Jackie was introduced to Trudeau by her brother-in-law, Teddy Kennedy. Now, here's where it gets complicated. Teddy Kennedy was having an affair with Margaret Sinclair, who later became Mrs. Trudeau, and she became the First Lady. But we now know that Margaret is still alive. She's very active. We now know that she suffered from bipolar disorder. And not only was she having an affair with Teddy Kennedy, but as First Lady, she just took off and started touring America with the Rolling Stones and took up with Mick Jagger, among others. And as I said, she is now under control. She's back. She's written 4 books. I'm not telling secrets on her necessarily because she's written 4 tell-all books about her wild days as First Lady of Canada. And one was called Beyond Reason, and I've just ordered her latest book, which is called The Time of My Life, Choosing a Vibrant, Joyful Future. And she's written extensively about her bipolar disorder, which she had when she was First Lady. And, of course, she's very proud. She had 3 boys, including Justin, and one of her sons drowned. He got caught in an avalanche in 1998, Michelle, and he drowned in a Canadian lake. But she has the 2 sons, and she's proud now to be back in with her son in control of Canada. But I want to tell you something.
Well, let me just tell everybody. Wait a minute. My guest. To people, sometimes they tune in late here. Is Darwin Porter. He's a celebrity author. He writes a column for Boomer Times, which we're very privileged to have every month. And I just wanted you to know he's calling in from Staten Island. Okay, continue.
Well, I'll tell you, Justin is unlike any. First, I mean, everybody talks about his male beauty, but he also does sort of wild things. Like he was once visiting Queen Elizabeth, and he was just joking, but he was walking behind her, which you're supposed to do, with the Queen. Even Prince Philip does that. And he started doing ballet steps. He didn't really mean, I think, to be disrespectful. It was just playful. And but the photographers caught him, and he's fond of sliding down banisters. He really likes to slide. Now, he's 43 years old, but he likes to slide down banisters. And once or twice he gets carried away and uses the F word in one of his speeches. And and when he was a little boy, not that little, particularly not that little, Princess Di came to visit, and it was summer, and he asked Princess Di if she would go skinny dipping with him. I think he wanted to show off his newly developed body. And she said, "Oh, no, Justin." She said, the Canadian lakes are just too cold for me. Now, I'll go on. The Justin had a very unusual way of raising money at charity events. And he did it by doing a male striptease. And that made him very, very popular. However, the Conservative Party once got a videotape of one of his stripteases, and they used it against him in the race for taking control of the government. And you know what? Instead of being a disgrace, it seemed to have increased his popularity. I guess the women of Canada liked what they saw, and he's. In fact, people say that he's like a rock star, and they call it Trudeau mania. And when he appears at certain events, he's treated like Elvis Presley, and so he's bringing a whole new dynamic quality to Canada, and I'm very excited by him because I thought he was one of the most. You would think after all the things I'm saying about him that I'm on his payroll. I am not, but this is unsolicited praise for this man. Now, politically, he would be for everything that the 15 or however it keeps changing every day. Republican presidential candidates are opposed to. He's for same-sex marriage, gun control. He's very pro-abortion. In fact, he said no one will be appointed to his cabinet who is not pro-choice. And interesting, and for the first time, he's insisted that his cabinet be equally divided among men and women. He wants the women of Canada to have a total equal voice in the ruling of the country. And, I mean, I can go on and on.
I'm amazed. I'm sitting here. Actually, I'm so glad you're doing this, Darwin, because I saw it in the newspaper that he became, the prime minister, but I knew nothing about him. I didn't pursue it, and you are filling me up so well. I probably should do in December. Let's see, I've just finished November. December, put him on the cover.
Yeah, well, he's a very wonderful man. The thing that I was impressed by him is at that dinner party, he walked in, and there was I don't actually remember this was before his marriage. I don't remember the young lady he was with, but I just remembered that she was a stunning beauty. And the two of them walked in, and it was like the arrival of movie stars at a premiere. And then when he talks to you, he looks you right in the eye. It's almost the quality that John F. Kennedy had. As someone said, when John F. Kennedy talked to you, he made you feel like you were the most important person in the world, and he was hanging on to your every word. And Justin has that quality. I wanted him to be president of the United States, but that's not going to happen. So I have to forget that dream. And the thing that I like about him, he really seems to care about all people, and he's very inclusive because Canada is just filled with all sorts of different groups and people, and they've had huge immigrants even from Jamaica. The whole country has undergone an enormous change, and I think he's going to bring more of a change. He placed a call, I heard, to Barack Obama, and apparently Obama congratulated him not only on winning the election, but on his hair. He's very well known for his hair. But Barack warned that before he leaves office, that beautiful black hair will be gray.
Yeah, right. Like everything, right? All the presidents have that problem, including George Bush, right?
They do. They always seem to leave when they're gray. And now I'm going to tell you some information that you don't really need to know, okay?
Good.
He has 2 tattoos. One he got when he was 20, and it is a globe of the world, a globe. And the other he got when he was 40. Now, how can I put this diplomatically? It is, from what I hear, strategically placed, and it must have been very painful, but for some reason, and it is a tattoo of a raven. So that's something you don't need to know, but you do know it now.
But now, wait a minute. So his wife must love this. I mean, he's attached.
The former girlfriend, when he got elected prime minister, she told someone in Ottawa, she said, Sophie is a very, very, very lucky one, a young woman. So, anyway, unlike his father's marriage was just a disaster. You know, back then in the late 60s, I think you know a lot more about this than I do, but bipolar disorder is better dealt with today, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and she really had this. For example, on one election night, Margaret was photographed scantily clad at the famous Studio 54 in Manhattan while the elections were going on. So instead of putting the winner of the elections on the front pages of Canadian newspapers, they had a picture of Margaret Trudeau scantily clad dancing with Warren Beatty. But apparently Sophie is going to be, as I said, just as beautiful and charming as Jackie Kennedy. So it's well. Remember, we went from President Eisenhower to JFK. That was a big jump, right?
Oh boy.
And Mamie Eisenhower to Jackie Kennedy. So Canada is, and I'm going to be really interested in following developments in our neighboring country, and I think he's going to bring a lot of changes. In fact, I'm going to go back and look now at I saw the TV mini series, The Great War, and it's amazing how many people wanted him to be an actor, and he really seriously considered at one time being a movie star. And I'll tell you the most recent survey. They did a survey in Canada of, well, you know, this wasn't Sexiest Man Alive. It was, who would you, he won the contest for the person in America. They say, which president would you like to have a beer with? Well, they said, which vacation would you like, what buddy would you like to go with on a vacation? He won. Who would you like as a dinner guest? And he won. And I can vouch for that myself. Who would you like to babysit with your pets? He won. Who would you like to recommend a movie to you? He won. Who would you like to be a survivor with in the wilderness? And he won. And he was also voted most likely to stop and help you if he encounters your car when you're stranded. So and now the conservatives tried to run all these things against him, and it didn't really work. They said that he smokes pot. They mentioned he's gotten a tattoo, although they didn't give you the specifics that I did, and that every day he practices yoga in front of the Parliament building. And it's just, I hope I'm not overpainting him but I'm just so interested in the fact that this very conservative government is just toppled with this sort of new day, and the only thing I had to compare it to was 1960 in America. And who knows what the outcome will be, but I certainly will be one watching very, very carefully.
Well, you've helped me a lot because I guess I've been so busy with other things I haven't paid much attention, and I do love this, and I am going to look him up and really review this, but you've certainly gotten me drooling here, and
well,
I'm looking forward to this.
I'll tell you, his wife likes the ballet, and Justin doesn't like the ballet, but he's agreed to be her escort. But he told a reporter to sit through the ballet. I don't want you to print this, he said. Of course, the reporter did, but he says, I always bring a flask of very good Canadian whiskey.
It's amazing.
And that's how he gets through a performance of the ballet.
And what are his children like? How old are they? You mentioned.
Oh, they're very young. They are. They're just really. You know, remember he got married only in 2005. So the two boys and the girl are very, very young. Apparently, his children just adore him. I noticed pictures of them when he's been away, like in Alberta, and he flies back to in Ottawa. They just run. Well, it almost reminded me of Carolyn Kennedy and John rushing to greet their father when he returned. It was the very same. Now, since we have a few more minutes, I'll tell you. Once I did a column for the Boomer Times on Carolyn Kennedy selling.
Oh yeah, I remember that, selling the priceless things that her mother didn't want her to do.
Yeah. Well, something has come out that Carolyn didn't look at all the books. I don't think she looked at the dedications in all the books that she was giving. That she was selling, and Pierre Trudeau wrote his memoirs, and he sent Jackie a copy, and he had a dedication page, and here's what he wrote. You'll be happy to learn that I did not put you in it, meaning his memoirs. If I had, it would have been my most glorious chapter, but sometimes a man must keep his most precious secret. The forbidden romance is always made more enticing than the one played out in public. I don't think Carolyn would have sold that book.
Now, how did you, I know that you have all ways, but how did you find that?
Well, actually, I found that out some time ago. I wrote, because, as you know, I wrote a book on Jackie Kennedy.
Yes.
And I found it because it was printed, a lot of stuff printed in the Canadian press, particularly gossipy stuff, it does not make the American newspapers. A survey was done that Stephen Harper had been prime minister, but Americans didn't know. They took a survey, and very few Americans knew his name. In fact, actually, the most recent survey taken on the streets of New York, and New York is a very hip city. They didn't know who Joe Biden was.
No.
So why would they know who was the prime minister of Canada? But I think with Justin in power now, there'll be a lot more emphasis on what's going on in Canada.
Are we going to get a column on Trudeau?
If you wish.
Oh, I think so. I'll tell you what, if you'll do one for December, I'll put him on the cover. Do you have a great picture of him?
Yes.
Fine. Why don't we do that, and then you'll you write the article.
Okay, I'll do an article. I only have great pictures on him because apparently he's one of those men who, quote, does not have a bad angle.
Well, Darwin, it's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you.
I'm sure, as I said before, I'll go off the air with you absolutely convinced that I'm on the payroll of
Justin. And I'm on your payroll. Thank you so much, Darwin.
The column will be on its way.
Good. You're wonderful. Thank you so much.
Have a great show this morning.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. Bye.